Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another live session with me. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another live session. If let me just bring up my chats. So, uh, it's basically the second live in our you know Microsoft Fabric totally concept, and the first session of Microsoft Fabric learning course. So if you have joined in the previous live session that was a kickoff of this series of Microsoft Learn, just give me a thumbs up or just write in the chat if you have joined before. No one yet. Or if it is your first time, you can just type it there. Cool. Let's kick it off. Let me share my screen. Aziz, Yeah, welcome. Second time, awesome. Oh, you joined the first. Awesome. Welcome back. Cool. It is Merdad. My name is Merdad Abdullahi. I'm Microsoft MCP and a principal data architect and an active member of Microsoft Learn communities. And let's be in touch. If you can just scan my LinkedIn, I would like to, to just be in touch with you guys and we learn together and we can chat more. And there is also a LinkedIn group that we have for learning Microsoft Fabric with Merdad, and you can also just scan this QR code, join that group. There we will just have the experts, from beginner actually to experts, Microsoft Fabric engineers, so we can just get together there as well and share more knowledge. And let's keep this one active as well. And so, as you know, Microsoft Build had a challenge. Actually, started the challenge on May 21st. It is going to be, remain for a month until June 21st. And the challenge for Microsoft Fabric has totally 11 modules that needs to be completed. So within a month. And it is part of the exam DP-600 that can be led to, just earning that, certification. So for those 11 modules, I have set up 8 sessions, 8 live sessions that we go through each of them. And today is the first one. I'm very excited to start this journey with you guys. And when the 8 sessions are finished and we are actually recapping, we are just wrapping up the Microsoft Build, challenge, then we will continue with the other modules that are required to completing the course for DP-600 that are, including the Power BI. In this 8 sessions for Microsoft Build, we don't have anything for Power BI, but after that, for the Power BI, it will be added. So the first session, we will talk about Microsoft Fabric, an introduction to that, and also Lakehouses and Microsoft Fabric. The first module, introduction to an end-to-end analytic using Microsoft Fabric. What is Microsoft Fabric? If you joined the previous session, we have talked about these things. It can be a bit repeated thing for you, but don't worry, we will have more fun there. So what is Microsoft Fabric? Before understanding Microsoft Fabric, we should just understand what was the traditional way that or another thing, another word that we can use is prefabric. How we did create the data analytics solutions before Fabric comes in. So we had to have different services from different vendors, and it is not limited to the tools and services that we have in this slide. So it can be from different cloud providers or solution providers. But as short, we have a data source. It can be in structured or semi-structured data, and then we will load them to a data lake or data warehouse, and also they can be they can be analyzed or transformed within the data factory per se, or even we used to have the Azure Synapse analytics platform or Azure Databricks and Azure HD Insight for big data processing. Then when all of the data is ready, Power BI and data flow could just transform the data and make the visualization and reports on top of that. As you can see here, we are using lots of tools. There is a complexity here. So what is Fabric doing for us is that Fabric basically came for just resolving this complexity. And so it is here to simplify this process for us. Fabric is an end-to-end analytic platform, which means that it is providing the data professionals and business users with an integrated environment for doing the data projects, for the data solutions. And everybody in the data teams and in the business just can collaborate with each other in one single platform. That this one single platform is containing a set of famous, or let's say easy to understand services to ingest, store, process, and analyze the data in one place, in one platform, which is awesome. And in Microsoft Fabric, we have some sort of experiences that actually a Fabric user or Fabric engineer can perform and experience there, which are data engineering, data integration, data warehousing, real-time intelligence, data science, and also business intelligence. Why we should use Fabric? Let's just compare it without Fabric and with Fabric. We just learned that without Fabric, it was very complex. And we had to just manage lots of things, lots of services separately. But with Fabric, it is much simpler, right? And it is in one place. As we have a fragmented services, while in Fabric we have the integrated services. Everything is in one place. They are just communicating with each other easily. We have a huge cost if we don't use Fabric. We have to go with different vendors. Each of them needs a subscription or license yearly, and it needs maintenance, right? Maintenance, and we need someone to just look after them. But with Fabric, it's gonna be cheaper. Everything is one place, and the licensing is easier. It is cheaper, and in the traditional in the traditional mode, we were just thinking, what service should I use for this purpose? And it's going to be a bit difficult for the developers or the decision makers and solution architects. So what service should I use for this data analytical solution? But with Fabric, there is a set of popular services, a set of easy to understand services that are suitable for a data analytical solution. Let's just move over the Microsoft Fabric components, what we have there. Of course, we are going to start with storage in Microsoft Fabric, where our data is going to be stored. There is a concept of OneLake. Everything, all data are going to be stored in OneLake. But before that, let me just tell you, Microsoft Fabric is a software as a service from Microsoft. So let's back to the OneLake. For OneLake, we should say it is a centralized storage for whole organization in Fabric. So each tenant or each instance of Fabric has only one OneLake. And when we are saying it is a centralized storage for whole organization, it means that we don't have to copy the data, right? From, for example, for uh, another department. For example, a data set is used by a sales department. It doesn't have to be copied over for finance department, right? Then they can just utilize only one data set. So the key component of OneLake is one copy. That, as I said, you don't have to copy the data into the different teams. And of course, it is going to save time and save, storage for you by just eliminating the need to move or copy the data. OneLake is basically built on top of Azure Data Lake Storage, which is a good option in Azure to storing the semi-structured data for basically storing the files in Azure. And OneLake is the native store for all Fabric compute workloads, and there is no extra configuration needed. And you can just understand that all the components in Fabric, like data factory, I don't know, the data engineering or data flows, all are going to just store their data in OneLake. Some abilities of OneLake is that we just mentioned it is built on top of the Azure Data Lake storage, so it accepts the files, right? So we can store the different formats of the data, which can be Delta, Parquet, CSVs, and JSONs. So, and from there, the stored data is going to be accessible by any of those compute engines with no need to copy or move the data, and everything is centralized there. And the data format of the the stored data is acceptable by those compute engines. If we want to just store the data in tabular mode, it is going to be stored in Delta Parquet format. And basically all engines that can interact with data seamlessly with that with that format, I mean. And lastly, an interesting thing in OneLake is that you can create shortcuts to external data, that is external data sources that are sitting outside of Fabric, or even with in another cloud provider. You don't have to copy them. It is only a shortcut. Just read the data, process that, and then report on it. So we talked about OneLake. OneLake is our central storage in Fabric, and all of these basically components in Fabric are going to work with this OneLake. The first component that I want to talk about is Data Factory. So Data Factory is providing us with the data integration experience that is combining data flows by basically creating using the Power Query to transform the data, and also it is a combination of data flows and Azure Data Factory, which is going to utilize the pipelines for moving data at the scale. And so the scalability of Azure Data Factory and flexibility of the power actually of the data flow are combined here to transform the data and to load the data. We've got Synapse data engineering here that you can just do the data engineering with a Spark, with a Spark platform for data transformation at the scale. What is a Spark? Spark is basically an open source and distributed, processing system to be used for the big data workloads. We've got the experience of Synapse data science. So data scientists can just work with the Azure, machine learning models, and for just creating the modeling the data, and also just train the data and do lots of stuff and making insight of a data and just giving a meaning to the data. The next experience here for us is Synapse data warehousing, which is using SQL, and this SQL here is basically very optimized for doing the data warehousing, and it is very optimized for reading data, and of course it is an industry leading, as Microsoft says, and it is going to support the big data. So we've got Synapse real-time intelligence to query and analyze the large volume of data in real time. In the build, Microsoft build event, it was actually announced publicly. And however, in Microsoft Fabric itself, it is excluded from Synapse category. And on the other side, in the documents, it is still, referencing to the Synapse real-time intelligence. But it is a good thing, you can just have, real-time processing from the streaming of the data or from the event hubs. Everything just can come to the Fabric and processed in the real time. Power BI here is assisting us with the BI needs, with the business intelligence needs for translating the data to decisions by creating the visualizations and dashboards. We've got Data Activator. So Data Activator is basically a no-code Microsoft Fabric experience that is going to work basically on behavior of the data and taking action after that. For example, if a value or a value of a measure is going to be changed from, for example, exceeding from amount X, it is going to trigger a job in or trigger a flow in Logic App, for example, or in the Power Automate. And we also have the industry solutions here that Microsoft Fabric provides industry-specific data solutions like ESG, healthcare, retails that they need for their data solutions, and it is very specified for those industries. And those solutions can be utilized for the management of the data, for storing the data, and analyzing, and also at the end of the day, helping them to make a decision about their business. We've got Copilot here in Microsoft Fabric. In almost in all of the Microsoft tools and services, this Copilot is showing up, right? So Copilot in Fabric is basically bringing a new way, new ways to do the transformation of the data, do the visualization and reporting of the data it is making the life much easier for Fabric engineers. So it can be utilized almost in all of the components in Fabric. And in terms of the governance of the data and management of the data, we've got Microsoft Purview that basically it is a centralized page in Fabric that is going to help Fabric admin guys to just doing the data governance and management of the data. And another good thing about Microsoft Purview is that you can just do the label, actually add the sensitivity labels to protect the data for classifying your data in Fabric. So all of these components that we talked about are available in Fabric, and all of them are working with OneLake and as a centralized storage. So how these compute engines are working with OneLake? As you can see, in the bottom, we have the OneLake storage that the data is going to be stored in, let's say, in Delta format. And for example, what we have one table or one, data warehouse, whatever, that we have in OneLake storage, for example, one for finance, customers, and service telemetry or business KPIs. Each of them are separated there, but they are all available for all compute, engines. And on top, we have the compute engines that we have discussed them about data engineering or data warehousing, for data visualization, the business intelligence. There is a layer between them, which is called the serviceless compute. That, for example, if a data warehousing is going to make use of or doing something on a stored data in finance data storage, it is going to utilize TSQL, or Spark can be utilized by data engineers when they are using the Synapse data engineering. That's it. And about the security and governance in OneLake, so as we discussed, the data is basically stored in one place, and everything is going to be managed in one place, and the data is governed and secured in one place. The Fabric administration is basically centralized in admin center to just manage the groups and permissions there. We can the Fabric admins can just configure the data sources and gateways where we are just pulling the data from. They can monitor usage and performance. And also there are some KPIs and APIs and SDKs for doing the automation in Fabric. There are some data roles and data teams that are working in a data project. And it is basically in the traditional way that we have data engineers, data analysts, and data scientists. Of course, we have them in Fabric as well, but how they are going to interact with each other and with Fabric, let's just compare them in two ways. We have the traditional way of doing the data projects, like what we discussed. All the services were separated, and we used the different components from different vendors. And with Fabric, everything is centralized in one place. Traditionally, this role separation of data engineers and data analysts, required an extra conversation to make sure that you have a solid and a perfect semantic model. But in Fabric, all the data professional can work in one place, and they can collaborate much better in the SaaS product. In the traditional, mode, there was always, a lack of knowledge for data engineers. They don't maybe they don't understand what is happening for the business, and what is required, what is important for the business. But in Fabric, they have more, overview. They have more knowledge about the business and the different components that are going to be involved in one data project. In the traditional way, data analysts had to just perform some, tasks for, just going, deep for transforming the data to just make them and prepare them for just visualizing them and analyzing them. But in Fabric, it is, they have much easier ways to, integrate native, they basically they have more insight and of the data, and they can just connect with the data and create their services. They create their let's say analytical reports, so they don't have to go with that detail in with the detail of data transformation like they had in the previous mode. And the other thing is that in the traditional mode, in order to scale up or scale down of the resources when a complex or a massive processing was required, we had to go through the pre-approval, for the planning, and just having the approval from managers for adding the resources for different vendors, right? One for example Synapse, the other one for Power BI, and for the storage. But in Fabric, everything is one place. If you need to scale it up or scale it down, it's going to be much easier for all of the compute engines in Fabric. Previously we had to do more coding, but in Fabric it is just moving forward to a concept of low to no code functionality. And we've got here some tasks of actually some explanation of admin and admin of the Microsoft Fabric, that is basically talking about the module of administrator of Microsoft Fabric in our course. We are not going to complete that that module today, and during our course for the 8 sessions, we will cover the different sections of this admin for just completing that. But for now, before diving into the Fabric itself, I would like to talk about some terminologies that we use in Fabric. The first terminology, the first term here is tenant. So basically, tenant term is used for software as a service. When you request an instance of Fabric in your organization, they provide you with a tenant, and it is called tenant. So it is a single instance of Fabric for an organization. The tenant is a dedicated space for organizations that they can create, store, and manage Fabric items. What are the Fabric items? We will talk about them later, but just having an insight of that, they can be reports, data warehouses, lakehouses, and so on and so forth. Tenant of Microsoft Fabric is very aligned with Microsoft Intra ID, or Active Directory to access the tenant, to and manage those users and manage their permissions on the fabric. And basically, tenant is sitting on top of the hierarchy of the whole fabric, environment, and it is a roof for OneLake that we discussed. The next term here comes in capacity. So it is mostly related to the licensing of fabric, and it is basically some sort of resources, a set of resources that are going to be provided to the a group to do a job, to do a task, completing computing of and processing of the data for a certain time. And we can have one or more than one capacities in tenant, and basically the capacity is defining the ability of the resources to perform a task for processing the data and creating an output of the data. And of course, then the size of that capacity basically is showing that how powerful that capacity is, how powerful that tenant is in terms of the processing of the data. There are 3 levels of components in Fabric that I would like to start from the bottom here. Items. The items are basically the smallest building blocks of Fabric platform that can be the objects that we are creating there, like reports, data warehouses, and data flows, whatever that is, going to be created in Fabric. On top of the items, for grouping those items, we've got the workspace. Workspace is basically a collection of the items that brings together the different functionalities, and that makes sense to be grouped in one workspace. The workspaces are going to also be utilized for just managing that workspace, managing the items and who can access to what. And for example, in sales workspace, we have sales items, of course, and only the sales people can work and interact with these items. So workspace is for collecting them and grouping the items, and also for helping to have a better management of the items. On top of the resource, on top of the workspace, we've got domain. Domain is basically can be defined as a grouping of workspace logically, and they are going to again organize the workspaces and having an overview of what workspaces are going to be managed by who, and it's going to help admins much better. So it is still the admin task, admin things. That's in order to enable and use the Microsoft Fabric, there are 2 different approach for organizations. When we are talking about the organizations, when basically we are working in an organization, and organization is utilizing Fabric or wants to utilize Fabric, there are some instructions there. Who can enable Fabric? And basically, uh, Fabric admins can do that. Power Platform admins and Microsoft 365 admins can enable the Fabric for the organization. How to enable that? They can just follow this row of settings, tenant settings, and then from there enable that. Who can provide access to the users or the group of users or the whole organization? It can be done by Fabric admin, or Fabric admin can delegate users, to perform for this, accessing process. Who can have the access here in the organization? It can be applied for the whole organization or group of users. And a Fabric must be enabled for a workspace. Fabric, Fabric Premium must be enabled for a workspace in order to create the Fabric items. It is for the organization. If you're just going to work individually on Fabric, you want to explore that, and your organization is not using Fabric or Power BI even, and in this situation, you can create your own, free Fabric trial account that is going to be there for you in 60 days with free access. You have full access to everything, whatever that is available. And for those basically experiences and features that are in general availability or preview in your uh, in your basically region. It is going to have a value of around $17,000, which is incredible. There is no credit card needed for that, and no subscription is required. The only thing that you need is a school or organization account. So let's create our first our free Fabric trial. Let me go to here. It's much easier to do that. So in order to create the Fabric trial account, we need an email. Let me bring my email up to receive the verification code. Awesome. So, we have covered that in the previous session, but that's good to create it one more time together for those attendees who haven't joined in our previous session. It is asking for your email to check if you have you need to create any account or not. For me, it is for the first time for this user. It is I got it from my organization, and let's create something here. The country that I'm connecting, Canada. Let me just a verification code. Should be received here in my email. Yeah, I've got it. Verification code and next. Yeah, you're all set. Let's start it. You want some, more information just to creating that for the, for the Microsoft user, Microsoft account. But that's good. Yeah, we are in the Fabric now. We can just explore what is happening in the Fabric. From the bottom, we can see the available tools. As I mentioned, real-time intelligence just excluded from Synapse category, but in the documentation, they're still referring to Synapse for real-time intelligence. We've got the Power BI, Data Factory, and these things. But for example, in the data engineering, we can have this, creating Lakehouse or whatever that is required there. And in the profile section, we should just start our trial to be able to create the items there. Okay. Cool. Let's back to slides. So we're done with the first module of this course, right? And there is a knowledge check. Let's just have this knowledge check together. Just write in the chat for me, for what question, what is the answer? I'm waiting for you, but in the meantime, I will just bring up some comments from there. Yeah, as is, I will provide the slides. The slides actually created by myself, but I will provide them with you somewhere. Hey, Emmanuel, welcome. As is, Power BI Pro Premium capacity will still continue. Yeah, it is not going to be stopped for now. Nothing is communicated yet, but I don't think they are going to stop the Power BI, very soon. So because it is still a standalone, software that is working, so it's not going to be stopped soon, of course. I don't have your name. You might be Abdelrahim, just taking an exam June 5th. Awesome. Awesome. So good luck with your exam. I hope this course can help you. So for the questions, as is, 1C, Shantikanan, which question, but maybe 1C, 2A, Javier, 1C, 2A, 3C, Bushra C, I guess 2A, A. Awesome, we have a lot of answers there. CAC, 2D, 2D, we don't have D. Oh, 2A. Awesome. Thank you. So let's see. The result here is for question 1, which is what is the key benefit of using Microsoft Fabric, is that it is a single and integrated environment for data professional and they can collaborate on data projects. And in OneLake, the default storage format is Delta, which they basically tables that are going to be stored in OneLake are going to be stored in Delta Parquet format. And we use Data Factory for loading data, for moving data, and then transfer the data. So we are finished with the first module. If there is any question, you can just jump, write in the chat, and we can answer that. Cool. Let's move to the second part of today's event, which is related to getting started with the Lakehouses in Microsoft Fabric. Firstly, let's understand what is Lakehouse. Lakehouse is a combination of data lake and data warehouse. So the data lake is basically created on top of the Azure data data storage, right? That is providing us with a flexibility of storing the files and semi-structured data, and which is scalable and a distributed file storage. It is also a flexible one, how to read the data. When we want to read the data, we can define the schema, right? And for example, what column and what type we need for reading the data from. And it is very compatible with big data, technologies. And on the other side, so it is very flexible. And on the other side, we have data warehousing, right? Data warehouses in Azure, in Microsoft, that is going to be utilized for relational, schema modeling. And we use SQL for querying the data. And of course, the relational data like data warehouses are very suitable for analyzing and reporting on top of them. But for Lakehouse, it used a combination of these two. It is getting the flexibility of the data lake, that you can store whatever that you want. And from the data warehouse, it is just getting the ability to query the data and analyzing the data in SQL language. So what are the benefits of this Lakehouse then? The Lakehouse is providing us with some benefits. The first one is processing capability. It can use Spark and SQL engines to process the large scale of the data, and it also supports machine learning or predictive modeling analytics. So it is very powerful for processing. Lakehouse is providing us with flexibility. Data is going to be organized in schema and read format, as I explained in the previous slide. And you can define the schema as needed rather than sticking to a predefined schema. Lakehouse is reliable. It is supporting asset transactions, and which is atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability of a data is going to be stored in the Delta Parquet. And also we have the accessibility of Lakehouse, that all the data is going to be located in one place, and all the team members can just access the data and utilize that for their purposes. It is going to be for data transforming or processing, or even for visualization and reporting. But in Microsoft Fabric, how does Lakehouse work in Microsoft Fabric, it can be created, in any premium tier of workspaces, right? So we can have the Lakehouse, in data engineering, experience of Fabric, and there basically we can load the data from data sources. If the data sources can be structured or semi-structured data or even unstructured data by utilizing by loading them with data factory pipelines or data flows, or even we can create the shortcuts to external uh, data sources. Then when we have the data in the data in the lake house, it can be transformed or changed in whatever uh, needs a data projects have via notebooks and data flows. Once the data is ready, it can be utilized for Power BI reporting and for data scientist applications. So, as I mentioned, Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse is going to be created and configured in data engineering workload. And after creating a Lakehouse, you will see three items in Fabric. One is the Lakehouse itself. The other, which is basically the storage and metadata of the Lakehouse, and you can interact with files, folders, and also the data tables. The next item that you will have there is semantic model. A default semantic model will be created automatically, and which is going to represent the tables that are existing in Lakehouse. And that semantic model can be utilized for Power BI reports. The next component that is going to be created alongside the Lakehouse is SQL Analytic Endpoint that provides you with the ability of just querying the data using a read-only SQL, and you can just utilize your skills of TSQL to query the data and just explore that. And in order to work with the data, work in the Lakehouse, you have two options: the Lakehouse Explorer itself, to just explore your data, your data files and folders, and also for SQL analytics that we discussed. So let's just create a Lakehouse for ourselves. But before that, let's create a workspace. Or, yeah, let's create a workspace here. I call it DP-600 workspace. Sorry. And just let's create it for ourselves. And in the data engineering, we can create a Lakehouse here. Let's call it DP-600 Lakehouse 01, for example, and create it. Cool. It's there. And as I mentioned, when you create the Lakehouse, three components are going to be created automatically, which is Lakehouse, semantic model, and SQL analytic endpoints. We have nothing so far there, but if we go to the Lakehouse, and in order to work with that, we can have exploring the Lakehouse where we are now. We can just explore the files and tables. Nothing is there. but and on the other side, we can just query the data tables by utilizing this SQL Analytics endpoint. Let's back to our slides. How we can ingest data into a lakehouse. So the first option here is uploading a file. We can upload any local file or folders to your lakehouse. It can be, just stored there. You can explore it like what we discussed, and just see the data as is. And also you can just load that result to a table. There are some functionalities there. We will discover that. The next option for ingesting data into a lakehouse is data flows, using basically, a data flow for, there we can transform the data, or even, load the data by, just pulling the data from a range of data sources. And we're going to use the Power Query, which is going to help us for transforming the data. And then that data is going to be loaded actually into the tables in Lakehouse. The other option for ingesting data is notebooks. So the notebooks can be utilized for ingesting and transforming the data. And also they are going to be they are going to be stored in Lakehouse as files or tables. We also have the data factory pipelines. There we can copy and orchestrate data processing activities, and then after doing the data loading at scale, of course, it is going to load the data into tables or files in Lakehouse. So there is another way of using the data, accessing the data in Lakehouse, which is shortcuts. But before doing that, let's create just uploading some data into our Lakehouse and explore how it is working. I use this upload file. We can just use the CSV files that is provided by Microsoft Learn, and you can just find it in the exercise part of the Lakehouse module. If not, I can just put the link to the chat. So yeah, the data is available there, right? And we can see that here in the files. But we can create a subfolder, for example, for data, right? In the files to have a better management of the data. Let's delete this guy and upload it here from this. Upload files. Done. And the data is there. If we click on that, we can see that as is. It is a CSV, comma separated values. So let's back to our slide, which is accessing, the data using shortcuts. So as we mentioned, that in OneLake, in Lakehouse, we can utilize the data that is outside of, Fabric, and we don't want to copy them or loading them for any reason, and that's the source for now can be Azure Data Lake storage accounts or data warehouses, Lakehouses from anywhere from outside of the Fabric. When we are going to use this shortcut, as I mentioned, You need to source the data outside of Fabric, which is sitting out, in another location. And you don't want to load that, or it is different. It is actually difficult to load that data into Fabric. For example, a data keeps changing, and you need the real time of that analysis, right? And you need only an ad hoc, request on some data. You don't have to load everything in Fabric. You can just create a shortcut to that data source and just pull whatever that you need and write it down. Of course, it is going to have performance issues in that side, and but Microsoft just promised it is not going to be impacted in Fabric. Even the data sources, the shortcut data sources can be outside of Azure and Microsoft. It can be by other cloud providers. It can be the shortcuts can be created in two sections in Fabric. One is Lakehouse. We will discover that today. And the other one is for KQL databases, which is in the section of real-time intelligence. So when we create a shortcut, basically it is going to be appeared as a folder underneath of the Lakehouse. And the shortcuts can be used by almost all sections of the Microsoft Fabric. You can use it in Spark, SQL, real-time intelligence, analysis services, and so on and so forth. Even that shortcut, sources can be used outside of the Fabric by using the APIs. And about the source data permissions and credentials, we should say that it is going to be managed by OneLake. Basically, it is two things. When you're connecting to a data source outside of Fabric concept, you will have to have the API keys, whatever credential that is required for them. For example, for the Azure Data Lake storage, you need to provide a SaaS or API accounts and these kind of credentials. But if you want to utilize another OneLake, it needs your it requires a permission for your Microsoft Entra ID in the destination, in just in the source of the data, so it can be just authenticated there as well. So let's just have a look at that and see how it is working. From the get data, we can get new shortcut. So as you can see here, we can have internal sources for OneLake. When we have another OneLake in our organization, or somewhere else that is available for our organization. And also we can have external sources like Amazon S3 or Azure Data Lake Storage, Dataverse, and even Google Cloud Storage. So for each of them, there will be a need for credentials. For example, for Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, as I mentioned, you can just provide the URL of the file that you have already in your storage account, making a connection there, and using authentication modes. So in order to explore and transform the data in Lakehouse, there are some options there, right? That is going to the first of them is Apache Spark, that we can use that. Basically, in a Lakehouse, each Lakehouse can basically use Spark pools for by utilizing notebooks or even Spark job definitions to process data in files and tables by using the languages of PySpark, Python, and Spark SQL and Scala. So basically, what is the notebook? I see a question for what is notebook. As is your question, your answer is here. It is an interactive coding interface in which you can use code to read, transform, and write data directly to the Lakehouse or as a table or file. And the code that you are going to use there, it can be Spark SQL or PySpark. And about Spark job definitions, it is basically on-demand or scheduled, scripts that are going to use a Spark engine to process the data in Lakehouse. The next option that we have for exploring and transforming data, as we mentioned before, is the SQL analytic endpoints that we can use TSQL to query the data, to filter that, and aggregate the data there, and just exploring that. And we can also use data flows to transform the data, in the Lakehouse, and just again write it back to the Lakehouse tables. We mentioned that we use data flow for data ingestion as well, right? So this transformation in Lakehouse is another ability of data flow. We can also use data pipelines in Lakehouse to just orchestrate complex data transformation logics that are going to operate in Fabric, right? In Lakehouse. So it can be the data flows or Spark jobs and other control flow logics. Let's do a bit of the exploring of the data and just having a quick transformation of the data itself. So we had this data here, right? The sales data. We can now load that. It is now a raw file, right? It is a CSV file. We can load that data into the tables. So we can create a table, let's say sales, and this, when we want to load the data, if you are coming from SQL, import data background, you can just use that. What is the separator of that? And if the first, row is going to be our column headers. So let's call it sales, and the data is going to be loaded into a table. Awesome. It should be created here. Now we can see the sales table in the table section. And but before jumping into the data itself, let's have a look at the files. So as we mentioned, the data in Fabric is going to be stored as Delta Parquet, right? We have the actual data in Parquet, which is very optimized, data format to store the data in columnar, format, which is fantastic in terms of, the efficiency for processing the data. For storage, it is going to reduce that a lot in comparison with the other type of data storage. And also we have the Delta log, which is going to utilized for loading the data, right? When we want to load the data, it goes to just look at that log, and it is not going to load everything again. It is not going to process every single record when we are using an automated jobs for loading the data. So this Delta log is very important here for having a better performance in Fabric. So in order to explore the data, we can click on the table and see the data there, or and if we expand that, we can see the available columns for this table, and these symbols just showing the type of each column. And also we can just explore the data by writing the queries like SQL queries in SQL analytic endpoints. So let's just quickly write something here. Select from cells, and let's say what columns are available here. Let's say, for example, item, and then what else we have? Okay, we can just say, for example, quantity of the items, sold items, multiple to unit price, to say total amount before tax. And here we say group by item and order by total amount descending. And then we can run it. Oh, something has happened here. What is it talking about? Sales, unit price. So I'm just grouping by items. What's wrong with that? Oh, sorry. I forgot about the function. Cool. We can see the result of this query, and this query can be saved, and we can save that. Of course, it is going to be saved here by itself, my queries, and you can maybe rename it or whatever. And what else? What else? We talked about the transformation, right? When we are doing the transformation there. Let me just close that. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is this semantic model that is going to be created when we have the tables. A semantic model will be created by itself. Some items are available here by default, and your table also. Awesome. Cool. Let's back to our slides. We explored the data, and we saw how we can, work with the data and how to explore that. So here we've got how we can analyze the data and visualize it. We've got the semantic model, as we discovered that. It is basically a way to modeling the data for, in the relational mode, right? That basically is utilizing your available tables there, right? Of course, you notice that there is a default semantic model when we create the in new lake house. And however, that default one can be modified, or even you can create a new one for just adding the custom measures, creating the hierarchies there, and also aggregate the data in the other way that you need. Once this semantic model is ready, we can create the Power BI reports on top of that, right? Or even the Power BI is going to utilize the table, another table, right, in another semantic model. So let's have a look at that one as well. In the reporting section, we can just create a new report, and let's see. We have the capability of Copilot in this reporting section, which is awesome. So we brought the sales table here, and we can just add some columns like item, or and also the quantity of that, right? And just changing it to a bar chart to see what's happening there. This module is not talking about the processing, or of the data, about the transformation of the data. Even we are not talking about the visualizations of and in detail. It is just a demonstration of what are available in Lakehouse, what we can do in the Lakehouse experience, right? For each of these items that we discussed, for the transformation, for loading the data, for working with delta tables, even we have separate sessions, we have separate modules there. But for now, it is just good to know that we can explore the data, we can report that in here, and even we can just save this report and say, hey, let's call it as my sales report, and let's save it. And when we go to our is our lake house, and this there. Cool. We have created the reports. We have created the table. We have created the lake house, the semantic model, and also that SQL analytic endpoints. All of them must be now visible for you in your workspace, right? In the workspace, let me just close this one. If I can close it. Oh. Oh, the other thing, we can create, the reports or even new measures by using the data flows, right? For new measure, we can create on top of the, just gave us error, on top of the tables that we have there. And about the items that we have created so far in our workspace, we can see them here: Lakehouse, semantic model, SQL analytic, and also the report. Cool. We are almost done here for Lakehouse. And here we've got uh, the knowledge check for the Lakehouse module. Let's kick it off. And in the meantime, I will just read some questions here. As is, I have a free voucher. Can I participate again? The build challenge to get 50% against. I think so. There shouldn't be any problem, but for the vouchers, I think there was a rule that is only available for one user, one person, one time per year, if I'm not mistaken. But it is for the 100%. You can just check that if it is available for you. Of course, you're gonna succeed there. Yeah, we talked about notebooks. In the notebooks, we can just write the codes in PySpark. Javier, is there any way to configure some sort of caching for those external sources? You are referring to shortcuts, I think. Nothing is, discussed yet, but I guess Fabric is going to do it, smartly. Let's just hear more about that. It is fairly new, and about the caching and how the performance is going to work there. Nothing is discussed yet. So the SQL and Spark SQL difference there is basically for Spark SQL, SQL itself is almost similar, right? But when we are talking about the Spark SQL, the code is going to be, the SQL part of that is going to be included in the Spark, functions, let's say, right? And we will talk about them next session about the Spark and how we can query it, how we can code there and transform the data. Hello. Do we need to create relationship in the semantic model like Power BI? Can we use this semantic model in the Power BI? Of course, we only had one table in our semantic model, right? And when we have more, tables, it is going to create the relationships automatically as it does in Power BI based on the name of the columns and the type of them. But we can always create the semantic models. We can configure them. We can, add some measures even to those semantic models, and it is very, open for configuration. Is the Copilot available now in Asia Pacific? Copilot in some cases is in the preview, and we need to check in what section is available. I will check that for you, and I will let you know. So let's go to the questions. As is 1C, 22B, A, Javier, CBA, awesome. CBA. Awesome. B, A, B, B, CBB. Okay, let's see. So we have CBA, right? And yeah, well done, Javier, Sahar, and others. So let's just recover that. A lake house in Fabric. It is basically an analytical store that is combining data lake and also a data warehouse. The flexibility of a data lake for storing different type of data formats, and also the power of SQL query and relational model of data warehouses. And when we want to create a shortcut, basically, when we want to access a data outside of Fabric and we don't want to copy them, for example, in the Azure Data Lake storage, we use shortcut there. We use notebooks to actually, having interactive coding, experience in a Lakehouse. Cool. So, congratulations, you have completed the second module of this learning path. And let me see, there is a question here from Sahar. I have a set of files that consist of some CSV files in Fabric. How can I convert them into tables without using load as a new table? Can I apply a notebook and pipeline for this task? Does anyone have experience with this? So of course, you don't have to load them one by one in the tables, and yeah, we can create the just explore the data by notebooks. In the next session, we will talk about them in Apache section that we can just you can grab the data from different CSVs and explore the data there and transform them and create your data set, and then write it to a call in a table or even in a file. So stay tuned for the next session. We will talk about them more. So we have completed the first session of Learn Microsoft Fabric for DP-600. Thank you for joining. The next session for us will be on Wednesday and May 29th at the same time. So hope you see you there. If there is any more question, I am here to answer. If not, we can wrap it up. It's a pleasure. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Thank you all for joining this session. For the next session, just be prepared for Apache, Apache Spark. We will talk about them, and just make sure you're going to just join the LinkedIn group. We can chat more there. Just we are all learning together, right? We are all learning this Microsoft Fabric. It is fairly new, and I think it is a good time to just connect with each other, share our experiences, ask the questions, and everyone just provide their insights, provide their feedback in them. When we hear something new, so we are going to learn that, right? We are going to research about it. So it is a good opportunity for everyone to learn the new things about Fabric. So until the next time, take care. Thank you for joining. Take care.